Nix 100.9 FM Suni. Na ene Wednesday. Ene Wednesday June 25, 2025. Na ene uko aya homa babosumi ne wo me ne de to so aduonu enum. Afi MP no aduonu enum. Mam se abodonko apa mu mitimi no aba beguso. Me man ti dwumadi na ye de bremo. Na me man ti dwumadi ye de bremo me amedi hu chia me from ADAKABRI Mamudu Osioma. Na senior co-character right in front of me ye Mark Jerry Osei Ajeman. Sa so na production no anyi ko jodame ado ene sini na so na Majeri eboni chidom na ohima kwefriye wo me enso na technical production abna frema bankro I wono ene wo hwe say yebetime anya opportunity. I interacted with various social media handles awodo yenuanom a eso ATA enunti gutuneti enit 100.9 FM nana yaw enso ena wobo abna frema achiri ban na fe nso so no yede aseda ede ama engineering team no na engineering team no achu agbo na fe so worker na nkwati akwa na najare na nabuaje na ada sankroma da nyina sanmra ne sempro na fe facilities team no so ede big solo na dada na Godfred yasanmra ne se Ubrana na fe no mapuna DJ Bosco yaw Sami na Milson so yasanmra ne se tetai na bibia koso nti ene yasan atena se ne uko mpanifo beba say editor of the Hawk newspaper Ura Charles McCarthy dodo no asanmra ne se point of law na ono eja waba besrayen na engineer Entwibu Asiakon of the New Patriotic Party enso ebeba na fe so no Ura Solomon Usu of the Movement for Change enso so ebeba na yatena se na yadwendwene ho na nsam no eyetia wape Owura McCarthy na nam se MPP National Council wo mo etu anamon ehyiamu nhyehyeye se ye frɛ conference na proposals aba na no mo bepe se wo mo beye di agentre ha kra ye bibi o makofra ni opportunity say top bottom approach eno na aye kasa ewo mmia bebre enti McCarthy so atwerokrata dia fa ho the National Council for no dia in breach na no ye kenkan krata na de kire mo ntie ne ono amra no amra kire mu na ye befrɛ nana obribu ahen so na obribu ahen so no ahead of time no ne nsa ka krata no na watimi aye den arebate ana wa amplify ana say wa articulate same view ana alternative view na yahwe de ebesie that so na ye be free university lecturer ba kon Dr. Asasante na ye no no so di nkomo enu mu no so no enei be kan say otumfo say to abebio sante hene yewura yes wa ma hene na ya kono na diplomacy nso so ene anyonkofa one amansan ewiase atitiriw efa no ubehwe se impact ben na aba chieftaincy so ewo my Ghana mu ene so ebehwe na yadwendwene ho Majeri
over
na ho te san
Nyankopon adomo na me adom yes bon kakra
bon kakra si adeja me peka dia ka papa dia mo bi otukwan ya chese Makabi village for no
yeah you man become apa
they ne boanye den
yeah
that from pa a very beautiful photograph of a king of Eswani and the president of the republic now we introduce you Joyce Bawa Muktari special aid to the president na okujetu flank onso so onyenwe na ya branti information minister.
Brasil book abankesi.
Amankesi. Ai kacho fusu. Picture nefe. When they try graphic mama story need the dynamensa. And yeah, o mama ye hunu nipa o twa picture no. And graphic bone ben. And I mean my technology photo journalist for no. Almost so yard. Sonti uje
no graphic and no acknowledge you. And the way any first one because I one more acknowledge. There's also a photo no pa. So it tells a story. Yes. I just o chese John Dramani Mahama or ne emabunu and na ebu mine. And the editor, look at the photo. A year graphic at the buyer in photo journalism. Dear Nabit Miaka.
Graphic, there's almost on me on you. Almost on me doing someone in Zao. Oh, you are almost as you. But do tell me as a Omudinza Monica. But I think say picture tells a story that we a vivid story. Find the picture a matching. So we a picture matching. Yes.
Does it tell a story of say John Dramani Mahama banning a youthful government now?
Of course, we will share a brave tremolo. We can't nipa age bomwa and I'm 200, 300.
Oh, nipa age just almost 300 years.
So when you're 89, 85, 79, but now we win more averagely.
Also, could you turn a
black one
and a year Jifa Gumashi and Joyce Bawa and Felix.
Yes, the youthful government.
Youthful government.
Yes.
And then look at Ghanaian Times. Also, no. In fact, the photo journalists are taking the sign. Look at the photo.
Yeah, more credit, baby. And you can pay attention to when the trap picture now. Not.
But more yapa. Yes. Because photo journalists know it may capture the scene in a single photo.
Yes. But
because I will share traditional apparel. A king, share. Now we share say Ghana and so no. Yes, your traditional ones. So no self fuguna present nashe. Now share a year fuguno so hand woven. Who's the fuguno see one asroti. So.
Before the end, when you meet the Nivea.
Oh, who did they say that?
We're especially made for big men. Yes.
And a more formal one, a Daily Post.
Yeah.
Or say His Majesty King Maswati III arrives in Ghana for 4 days state visit. Now, and also once again, is it? It may be the Navy. A Navy for necessary, no. A fast staff house. Also, social photo, no. So, more formal, I just say. Ceremony, I just say. Or Inspector Guard of Honor. I mean, David Ando, between Kaja. Hey, Mapo, Kajagum, David Ando, one of the top photo journalists with multimedia. It was sent and they say, Ebia Besnico, was it Ebu Hans Nana?
Yeah,
no graphic. And photo journalists here, almost a moment and 2 was a warm swamp for photos now, you cannot have an otherwise. It oh, Jenny see. Omo Canadian, imagine that way, Johnny. I mean, the video to boost. I mean, the paper back could judge me 5 jai, Minka, a young cat. And the young share said there, and Norma is he at TCC. Na yehuno yehuano. Now no say ye ne young credit command inspector general police.
I said
first school phone call.
Yes. Oh no.
And
so there hasn't been any changes.
No, there be. anopa no de see be catch dey nka no wa akire ho e de no wa observe na anopa no because you see a me be no e hu say prosi ni ba na traffic light ase e twa ma obi escape na say obi a jump traffic light na wache no na you see a baby otie no so zebra crossing. Let's see what's happening next. So until no what me capture baby abra be catch because nkwala na de no o hwe say a whole stretch your friend no a friends arterial road na such an arterial road a central corridor na ubetimi nya stretcher yentimi enya yentimi enya say enkwada every school na enkwada bebrebe stretch from a large set of traffic lights itwamo police depot at the BC despite media J Kufu Avenue has say na traffic light was so nyina no access the pedestrian ones no assay then you have the police training school educational unit I want to process for mad do no school na nkwada na be pon between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. now they are left on their own to cross sa arterial road we say that time is also then we are talking about the beginning of the rush hour and grofo besne edia kofie and opaso so ya na traffic ne kro mut no bi nko speed na se duru awia say na grofo besne kofie na o hwe se arterial road na miensan ko miensan ba na grofo twika akra na omo enhwe se die na ekoso a yeah report abna tell us.
Okay, ofanti enrano anopano na obi wo ho no ma oboa amankola na twem anopano ba awia ne de menhu me sheda na nte kwa animu kokohwe de mani hu na nipa no timi se obeye waye phone bi no yo ba na no hye
reflector ni bi anti CPU yeah the community protection
unit
na ne shirt na like pale blue be like
yeah CPU that's right.
Yes, so in the morning I saw that everybody had now going back there. Yes, this morning to maybe more zebra crossing there this side.
Yes,
but then I could see people were now going back
to the place now. But set of lights, also the
lights, you know. Say information here, kind no. In fact, I call IGP. Yes, I call to the attention of the IGP. Na lights and then say and only yeshe ho asem kan yi. On say lights and there. Yes. Into police phone ba be o mo there. But say lights and so no. Yeah, can say bia na say be a period of time 1.8 billion Ghana cedis a ya tete yen so intimi enye light. Wo fa wunua wo fa service da ko. The krata na wa yes analysis no ewom. Inti light no light na say yehwe no na afi ni yehwe police for no so 70 said ya ene frema aka no I believe say enwumre na nkoda na pon no nso no ene so say yetimi hu say frema said ya wo ka no ene so me ne sa enti ene enwumre no ebo say bofo a so ebofo abomodi ana hwe say obitima capture bibi dia man ya so ne hu say there has been your friend is saying some changes that was how no into of a light in the you see urban roads for no so because we need urban roads say we know say there's an urban roads and now we are highway
we yes we urban roads
okay
na contractor here juma there were temporary lighting I bet me a set up a temporary light because the entire anibre wom kakra yes and so ye and kwada etwam wo ho no so we would not wait until say ka be twa fa nkwala more than 3 so nti ade na ade no ka esi ahe brim so won me kan tata me busa me ho say Ghana Highway Authority so mo be ko chebi division MTT dia ko busa o ma ko busa accident dodo asi ho ndi esi akwa ase me nka biem so na sa no man kakra no ya nhwe anka ho asem a so ya
na wo hwe san ko no nso na kasa kese mienu na omo you overtaking and bridge no so meanwhile Rambo strips he was so na kasa kese mienu na wo so wo ba sane eba
and you see me be
sa wono
enkwala ya asem ya ye kan Rosi ni ba no what yakwana what on watches no
watch
was a quite on watches you want from one man a phone run American I want to prison ibanity it is a machine say when what you normal in combat now like a traffic light na abuo no komu dia no mo hwe obi jump ya no na omo aye de acosto no adna ba nchen ha be ka ho asem ene ade na abuo yi etiba ye no so obi a jump ana so obi nyompo so no now I would have thought to say speed that was just omo di free police depot eba betwam enti wo mo ton ade wo ho nyina no eye wo ma desrede da wo ma kuma so say so mu jeje no mu se nkwala na twam there is a woman oton said be carpet sanas there's a particular woman be just when who's akwala ni bia be gina ho no na ne nsunu mu ote so because as a woman na obi a woman na o say nkwala kitwa ni twam sana say who was stretch bi so editor na shop owners e wo ho rather gina ye kon so say a kwan a said a traffic light ni nyina pedestrian crossing na say na nkwada nkete na ye ja omo so nkwada nkete wan so police men and women emma and omo free school and ye ja ne sa na prosinate phone wura no hono twen amade yesi. What do you make of it?
Well, I think say enya depa enya good for ye nyina, especially abra Greater Accra Regional Minister asha ye boss I think 90 days no obema street light bia be ye djuma na be 4 months 5 months we saw that problem na enye encouraging, but I think say ye kana ye draw attention, especially ye Ghana police for subordinate for no. I think the school no so must take a blame. What I can read, the school management is acting irresponsibly. I say nkrane ba muni ba bi omu feedback. And you know what prevent you say obe pe nipa baako anamienu na why make sure say nkrai pon school a the ombe twa kwan nim owia na okọ. This is just a matter of 1 hour 30 minutes adwuma oye na no power be na nwure na asan police for recruit for crowd depo bebre I'll bet me use omo munye we nyina until say this a sign ana musuo si cab bo baako moto abo baako ansana the better to be BSc. As the school management also are reckless. They don't think about Krana Yedia show Monsano. So we drink Krana welfare and Kekaho.
Because there's been an instance accident BC. Emma, it was a police sergeant, no your bar. And now Utimi a can Kwalani go from.
Yes.
I recall. So now just a na vehicle move in menacingly. I me kai papa say me be mu kakra kra ma me compensate process ba no o yes ade no but because na said the sprinter bi and then said the banana brakes issue into another person avoid no and then kwala no so twa kwan mu and process ba ma nya akon na me nsura ba bia obi a na the way a process ba no sergeant or kan kwala no go from ama omutimi avoid it me kapa not ye my basset the compensation ni be mu ana afede
David o say
na basa na nya
David we dey say ye disika na mi ye say ekuru bi disika na
enti ehonmo no the man ye so profound no ye shop owners na omu show in main you say omu tete shop no mu hunu say process for man no betwa kwan no na lollipop person bi anyina ho or shepherd wo mo na the waves so answer yes ye kaka no a ye bukas ni nipa ye tika no no hwim nobody is on the lookout say bia obi kura be gina central reservation or mo pese o mu twa kwan no osusu kura kohwe say cars me yensa na eba on that arterial road a hwan na betimi asignal hwan say hwan nyina dangerous so
and what found say ye stretch way so no especially no say wo kosa wo ben nyina no in and out ni nyina no drivers no e wo so a speed a wo moko no and ehu edu a ma che say na say traffic light ne so amber de wo ye ni ma ne so amber na na say dia drivers no e komirika wo so na ehu pa nti obi e ba na so hu say traffic light ni nya adwuma ho speed and nipa no be so di twem no na me wanwa etu be hwa accidents SCC wo ya kwan we su nyina no such accidents no dangerous ba ko bi a nipa wu wo ye ya no petutu no police can no police vehicle ene bekum motor rider bi ewa ha yenim ha ye nchen ha ya cars mienu na ba be hye ha aba be hye fie ho ni nyina no nyame ne yeda na sese na edwadefo ni ho ensan ka asem foforo si
enti
it say
we can say nya a response biada we may have to formally make petition, a complaint to the Child Rights International because them say be police administration no omonti ni ye so because when it's about children the Children's Act is so clear said the welfare of the child paramount
very paramount
so and the social welfare so as say protection and care of children protection and care of children as your social welfare na juma it is say process for ma the cop police school na ye jankwala to be on such a highway it's a real danger. They just say we are not acting responsibly in the protection and care of the children. We are not taking the welfare of the children into consideration. Into beer, say Child Rights International, your petition on yet me the evidence. They can't when they take it up, the police administration will look at it seriously.
For now, said ya from my demand say on capture BB or her mind, but my confirm 2 occasions, sir. Yes, traffic wardens in a way, community Bernard and Crawford community protection unit. One more taking charge. Yes, say yes, who say a neck, for instance, San Cordano Pum School, saying that into a nano, a buffer, so of 1.4, almost and 3:30. It's between 3:30 and 4. No,
you're observing and
then you share. Because an opinion date has been confirmed. It's young confirm a idea so na young fan shade.
Because young them was say metishi be
yes.
So and say yet na say as I give you because sanka woman nipa but who police depot sentry ni gina ho sentry no gina ho it is sentry no gina ho no say police depot will be kwa ye there or sentry gina ho dia mesremo be
because when you adwuma bi Ebroso. We moroso kra. And when a period of time, within a period of time. So what I said yet here, ninti idea as a yetchena police for normal timeboa. Because in Kodane ba say peak hours in Kodane be school no. One more rescue movie as our time no imuajo. One more bepon no be aba begina or not wa direct it. And the idea to say enye juma ebroso. Na no kra no so mi susu say traffic lights in here juma enye dwumon sa hono kwa de e say yenya police person bi
because say young
direct yes say young kwada say kwada ono no nim say traffic ne bi aso green o ye mine no ntime nwen ma no ho nti say obi dwen panyimo dwen ma no
na so aka se mo editor ye ko school ye kire say dey say twa kwan mu
and I say red means stop na ape yellow mean get ready. Yakura you who say your friend Amber. Red means stop, yellow mean get ready, green mean go. No, I don't know. Say, why you first check him?
But generally no. Ya chere ya say dey twa kwam because I say empanifo bebre kura akwamu twa akura na ya na
ehu papa
tubo ze na ono tike mu ba wo hunu say nipa susu na etwa mu no eso na on reduce the speed na wono susu de wo twa mu no onso galleys no na onso susu de etwa na o check approaching vehicle no na utimi hunu na nim say odi watem say na bafun yi dia na oye so ka ni ba na gina no say susu ba sasi aso de obetumi kare. But would it be worth a while? Sanke, you bet Chenkwala said the Sitra Quam, near Chenkwala, first aid and
never be brave or and can see or much Chenkra, a champion funina. Because the share and never yen and a dorsal. Fire curriculum now share from basic school, who share the bar. Yeah, I brought a cool school, now need you see life skills.
Girls Guide and Boy Scouts, they are doing survivor skills in Inano.
He knew be any mobile. I say, any problem I work into your more drafty a curriculum, not cafono. And there's some more factors and it might be brief. Yeah, we would be so be set in the genotype, yeah, them power winning.
So I can be you. So, yeah, Africans
around, yeah, for Nigeria, which Nigeria now be standing with genotype, yeah, double bachelor or blood group, or Beckham be, yeah, we don't know because we are not taught.
And
consent and fire home. I say, and then yet naka for moon dream who crass how and kind and when we never so much so how you see social engineering a deliberate. I say social engineering a deliberate when you also conscientize it the way you want your country to grow. How person nippon two men bedroom fa. Curriculum now or design curriculum now. You are designing it to shape the minds of the young ones.
It's between age 8 to 12.
Yeah.
Ghana ni akwadano. System new position is saying between age 8 to 12. Ghana ni akwadano between 8 to 12. God, those are the formative years, or forming views on so many things. Akwadano, how is the child positioned?
Because there are two Timothy passions what Timako when you and will be move away from technical and vocational courses. Marketing the noble technical invest no more marketing. I say, we got technical invest no more procurement, purchasing and supply. Oh, meanwhile, the idea and it's anka insano juma and it's more advanced. No musia, no multimedia, and yes, I net. For technical university 10 now, but I go and look at courses are Nipa Dosu and engineering.
As a technical university.
It's a technical university.
I can be to say there as a warm one or more mainstream universities, no, or more secondary education over technical and vocational
10 on aggregate 6 on a brilliant on a so
mainstream university humanities social sciences
mechanic we have said uni adwen untimi drumbo to look at your
only creative mind.
If you don't have the creative mind, you must have that third eye to be able to who will be no one render no 3D paper no to any who's of ADAKABRI or no and you be who picture was
even creating a mental picture.
Exactly. But Amayati says to anybody who cannot make aggregate 6, 10, no one can be. It's a wabong. A disre. Of course, secondary school now we have visual that you disre. We have home economics that you disre. These are the things we are facing as a nation. And you know, me, I blame the way education is administered in this country.
I just said, we are not positioning the children.
ADAKABRI, of course, school now we later. You could trust our cinema as a codo. You could trust our cinema ado. Yes, a codo. Or punishment, no. And you know, am I in the two and you say, Queanye. I feel I struggle to make people understand the farming is good. But in the early days, yes, starting crying is a punishment. You come to school now, me later. Punishment, ado. I say, that is it. Meanwhile, okay, be accounting a bit in farming. We are marketing now, you can market your produce and what have you, but any team, we are not able to link any industry, the commerce. The link is not there. And a problem. The curriculum, there was problem. There was problem.
Now, over the years, sir, are impacting negatively on our society such that and now over pesa yibenya intervention biana.
Over cultural studies in our days, cultural studies. I don't know today. Until now, you see the 9 main languages are not in schools. father gbani ubenya account ubenya in as for 9 they say 46 languages me wa but 9 na na with school and then I don't know if it is still there is a man for culture and kakra we so asante for naming ceremony you get to know all these things so quite fast so dia ware and na bi ni o enu ntina look at the way a man for dia ware ne upa from no mo trans no mo missile say ye kwa bokokoko ni na for the processes ya westernizing the process what is it ya westernizing the process until ye nim say we na any eja energy sa de we bi our register so for money shira so but the blessing in the sense of ye di aware ye di aware no in the true sense of marriage your parents any do omoba ma aware enya sofo
sofo de wo shira so
sofo shira des wa wo ba
ena akushira
obi ba so amobi una odi ma aware just my mini or papa jitum my mini especially jitum so ye ba na ekwa aware ya penisi so wonko
ya busa akwala nso amwaji
atum let's follow the process entiase niwo as the over entiase nim that is the issue as you abandon your culture no your culture nankasa de your culture and gradually it is going so as gradually culture na kwa na gusu kofo a time will come who be
at what point and abeka say nkwada no your position woman for the basic life skills as we are girls guide name boy scout near the see why we money
a basic na say ya de chance yo a basic na say ya de chance because normally we ha say ya de chance nkwada brimu a me say I remember very well say normally we ha as a KG primary school and one dey from as no man still odum say na ni nyina na say no man ka ho nti ahyase na say yetimi ye ma ye mofra na yetimi ho ahyase na your parents no so no said yen system net ye ne de system no enhye da nye too restrictive into wo parent no so wotimi edeto wo so wo be ye sebe menka ne sen responsibilities no wo de say no man be ka ho so that you also teach your child certain things and no man no say be boa kwan be fa so ne etima position kwada ne yie na enkonkoba say wo mo enye exposed to danger wo fa no say ye kan ekra no BBS wo BBS no western region ho akodan omde no bo wiem ya wo mo atwa ne man so ho
wa wiesika
so wa wiesika na ye de ahoma so ne nsa ye de akodan ya se no wo ne ye birim no na nipo no obo no kra no abata na wo no ka chen so you also mo kama no ka no tumo wonim say police for na kire say nipa no kra nyo no na ewo akodan no but wo mo ye say community fu bia wo mo no na wamo ye mpanyifo obo ho akwada na di boni nti ete se yetime bono so ho na ye wie na de mako esrasra na won ntehwe hu nyina na wamo de mako esrasra we si akoba sei no police fu asom meko akwese na bizansi sei akwada no ye na ko hospital wamo behwe na wie na ye na ko he ye be sande na ko back to the family ana
I think a social welfare.
Social welfare. What in the UK? I tell them say, and they were back a school UK. Now, weekend dura, especially woman naturalize on weekend do. Now, the following Monday or do school muha. First, where are we? Won't be sacked. Question: where did you go? Where did you go? And now holidays be aso. Near man could holiday. One more person which now say, "Whoa, for no, a your responsibility." Sakoda no holiday bi do weekend bi do afani pie man ko na baby so ho case palo bi na che say akoda no so etimi dey explore na da bia akoye fie wan hwe ne yie oba no be ko school mu o mafie biem nhu ne biem na we mi bi sa senti akoda ye wie ne asa na kwakoma na wofo ya so na ete we ya na wo mu bi dem akoda na wo mte wo hwe yi o so it is about time again wofo no so no say yetimi ye too responsible because your system no so we say wu jai e de ama say system na na enko kira akoda no e wo school mte say de ye Kenya enye enough nti yen no so say ye ma ye ni ba so because your system na enye so solid ebetimi egura akoda animu akyerɛkyerɛ ne sɛ no
after 60 how many years
Ghana
since 1957 your systems in just solid then we are almost a failed
good
because Ghana ye nipa nka wa retirement
good
I say do an abobra na system nya they just
very bad ebi ade said yes western region and BBC says say ye kwhwa akoda see ye bepe psychologist dey am no
gender and children protection till today omo issue statement on this
woman kan ho hwe yeah
I said no ma course o ma dwene mu no nye we bia mengenga message kakra fa o see Kofi Asrifi on Facebook live o say I really admire your guest nti at least point of law people asempa George Ninyera I say good afternoon watching you live from Obuasi Municipal near Chunubu Akudua NDC Dumso and I say Adakabri the police officers at the new planned traffic lights at Achimota are making driving so difficult for cars on the Melcon lane. They don't let the drivers go by the traffic lights. They let the cars on the main route and the Melcom lane drive simultaneously, making it difficult for Melcom lane to merge the main road. Accidents happen almost every day, but they don't care. And now the buyer, Richard Barr was a. Good afternoon, Father Cabri and Marjorie. Watching from Conteso. Yaunsia and I say, Father Cabri, tell the lady who was reporting about the traffic which was not working. Let her know that this is radio. She should give a mind picture description of the place and area, like I crossed the zebra crossing and turn here and there in Abner Freeman's voice. How can a listener get this picture on radio? I can't obey me attending a mental picture. Fuseni Adams was good afternoon, Adakabri. I'm watching you live from Ashaman and I greet Joshua Kamba and Chairman Joe. Nikki Fada or say, well, Adakabri, so you wouldn't retire and pave way for the youngest ones to take over because you are too old to host a radio show.
One can say do retirement age.
Too old to host a radio show. I mean, say, who and who can
determine?
Say you are too old to host a radio show.
Or you be sound on one day. Your friends say.
There be say be agitating in mind. Say you are too old to hold a radio show. And why the age when you host a radio show?
But for educating educating.
Point of law. This is what my young man thinks. Also, Adakabri, so you won't retire and pave way for the youngest ones to take over because you are too old to host a radio show.
That is, I don't know. Not here. No, what you watch it. If you tell no sir, that's what you no free say you are too old. Don't share. It didn't know what to radio, so you know it keeps ringing. But when you say shower, no energy, no. But radio, then you are holding your
that's what I want. Everyone will be cancer.
Your memory, I'll be engaging.
On the face of it,
and is a unique as a my monitor the production, part of production, hosting and all that. You see, map no crowd Ghana had on country see all my replacement. So on my one young man or what Ghana have when it comes to Ghana map. Obeti match from Accra to Kumasi. But boom, Kure was running now, my. But it's a unique idea. Who pay?
But not something all canon. Yeah. On the face of it, be a bit me a dismiss it, but it may be say there's
no. There's no merit in this one.
Hey.
But other than old German, yes, be son, that's a old German.
There's no
you are too old.
There's no merit.
Maybe no be unprovided further particularly.
Yes.
And that's how German.
I see retire and pave way for the youngest ones.
Are the youngest one complaining?
I said
no. Are they complaining? Now are you frequency in there? And you might run a nimble power person or any one or fan assignment so yeah. Because only the number results are pay. And also, we bought a hammer, I'm okay. You are just a listener. Keep listening to
it from a nine o'clock 6 a.m.
Because age ben na you retire already.
It's 9 o'clock 6 a.m. No, and ADAKABRI pen baby show no ana.
That is the issue. I don't get it.
Now over 500 radio stations here in Ghana no. Me back up me retire. When you opportunity.
Ebia no bibi o person.
Okay, na make can say. Was it a and I'm say police ejected graduate teachers from the Ghana Education Service. Ghana Panakonse maje na wo ka ho asem. Na there was this gentleman and all complaining say prosine no usi free as ye free ha. Na fe wo be ka say wasala we na say ye nim ne cross la na abebo me saying it is like language na no use no. They just say onye pushover. Right? So wo me saying one can say ye kura. I get a friend saying get a friend saying dangle no. Na me say get the voice out. Na apparently na or cancer ye and get me the dangle please. Enti or cancer ye no. Comments almost 1,000 comments. And the first person now commenting and can say, "Way you are not even speaking graduate language."
Yeah.
And like I said, 98% of the commenters, almost 1,000, no, assumed say, or person say, graduate now can't brofo no country. So they kept on making it look like say a year before they say before the brofo and the brofo say but we should say Dean I'm say I don't know I say oh this one share alternative no say language now can just say whoop uniform no na fe ye wia no assign
no
akoshe uniform no the trouble the words be use you no one say a street language I just say to say what breath for and then nyame aye na dom no abra na watimi akọ university so no gangsterism bi akọ dru Peter Fuomu na akọ ye show bi on ma Jack yan twema akra then I was imagining say could the person who says on kasa graduate was thinking say obey use appropriate words say no minimum employer will issue wo be a secondary person we a third person into no won't me ma and ma ube eject me out me threaten me so abebo me so no but that language in be see on the face of it one fan say be or free say brofo ne yenka and I say ne enti na me ma obi can be say on fitin kasa akeke say obi kan say akeke abeka say and how do I put it one year you say retire now I'm asking myself say when I catch this me cry say me no me retire when I catch and say or no and never be fan and say young I didn't know say young man be no so be there's no gram one
it's one of those things
offend the account be when they said it's part of one of those things maybe when they say yeah we be here so much see and that is how it is. Okay. It was when they said that yeah can no in the aspect of your friend is saying and kodani die say over say may ni kon
police for back
say you may ni kon pa
e be do man afi no yama okay enti holali mama dogbe o say apply for his position if you wish and stop the process comment. Oh man. And as Waba Ebenezer was watching and listening you live from Gomwa Sembrofu Community Center Wafa. The MPP can hold their presidential primaries every week till 2028 and puts all candidates on one ballot. They will still lose. And what they buy Raymond Godwell also Wafa. It is clear and simple and short that as a country, we don't value human life at all. We behave as if there is spare to life. So an accident that killed 30 persons is seen normal. Women's Pillar 2 was a government that started promoting LGBTQ. Hey, some joy. Mashaka Santi was say whether Ken or Dr. Baumia or Brian Champon, the value is the same. But honestly speaking, I prefer Dr. Baumia. And Nikki Fada and Samba and also ADAKABRI have been in the system for so long. Until confirm what they all can say. I've been in the system for so long. And Andrew Kotoko-Kesi was he being old or young to be a host of FM and TV stations immaterial. It is not worth wasting time. Raymond Goodwin also asked the tester who is he saying to hold the host show if he knows a celebrated broadcaster like Larry King and Phyllis Abeku and Kuma. Good afternoon, Mr. Host. I had the same story in my time. I got grade 9. My uncle told me to do a Greek, and my dad told me to go technical university with my father. Disagree with my father. Christian Edu Johnson also offer, please ignore such a person. I listen to your show because of you. The quality of your questioning and the in-depth knowledge of Ghana is unique. Let the person asking for your essay to read history from advanced countries. In radio, the older the better. Sir Andrew Pukwamankwa also watching in London. Ebenezer Mafo also good afternoon. ADAKABRI Mamudu watching you live from Massachusetts in the USA. Electricity tariff set to be up by 2.45% NDC. Yaunsia also what ADAKABRI, there's no retirement on radio. One don't need to scream on top of your voice to be heard. The host has been listening to the mushroom presenters who shout despite having also a microphone before them. And then Agama offered the same person sent you the same message last year. They say a timely reminder. And Sir Andrew Pukwamankwa in London, ADAKABRI kindly informed the individual that the United Kingdom boasts prominent broadcasters such as David Attenborough, a 99-year-old, and Nicky Ferrari, among others, who, despite their millionaire status, remain actively engaged in their professional endeavors. And in the way, David Attenborough, no, and so, no, Makwaye Umpanifu, see a Kwaya Muman Kolamba, and David Attenborough, okay, 99 years old, and then the Dimbleby brothers, Jonathan Dimbleby, and Ninuya. We can a brandy on win baby. As the MPP has collapsed. Oh, right. And the Yamra back na editor. Over. MPP for na as a body corporate. Omono enya womo party. Ana womo komasem. Ana National Council. Esinkonya. In a joint meeting with the National Executive Committee, just a steering committee, BBA Kabum, second highest decision-making body after National Congress. And I resolve stay ye BBA. You have written a piece.
Yes.
More or less, just what can now person say as a MPP form family and yejuma. At Omu legal committee, so no. We share Kuku Dam, Frank Davis or her, Gary Nimakuma for her. So lawyer Joyce Puku Watting. There's a lawyer for when people when lawyer for it. And then I said they wouldn't even see warm. Tell us motivation.
What I mean, I was MPP a public institution by law. MPP bet me abediga naso. MPP adiga naso. Da. President Kufa 8 years, Akufo-Addo 8 years, 16. You be DNF as a potential government in opposition now. Into me when MPP constitution, when DC constitution, into UDBB ba na yako kambo constitution no. Ni address ni amudi aba no. Is it lawful or na? Is it backed by law? What I say? Ampa MPP or National Council. No question say MPP National Council no. Need to me say or the very law. when it is explicitly stated in the constitution. They don't even have interpretative powers as National Council. So obey interpret the NPP constitution differently. So I say, now nyami di omo ho ya kese with this one. Kwabena Japan. Any John Boyd omo ye former general secretaries and omo wo meeting na sibi. Oman remind the National Council. It is for the purposes of institutional memory. And almost all former national chairmen, general secretaries, moye part of National Council meeting. So now, omu take decisions. No move veer off the normal. What me up from Tiomo. Well, Article 10, 2, Clause 2 of the MPP Constitution is clear. What I say? Omu near friend constituency delegate conference and omu regional delegates conference, annual regional delegates conference, and some omu national delegates conference. And by law, by Article 10, Clause 2 of MPP Constitution, you can only hold a national annual delegate conference 4 weeks after the regional annual delegate conference of all the 16 regions. But so MPP are yet regional delegate conference and pato catch me down moye. I feel where you see me. That no more hold be.
Not as I know.
Have they set date to hold regional conferences? Mm-hmm. They have not set date as far as I know. And you know, means pa eno enko hold the annual delegate conference national. Mm-hmm. Constitution no enye restaurant menu. Na ukwa wasi me pe jollof ne mame I offend tilapia me mpe good enye sanete. When it comes to law, matters of the constitution, follow procedurally. And I say, they've gone against this provision in the MPP's constitution. And you know, Omun Timinko hold national annual delegate conference in July, without the annual regional delegate conferences. It is in breach of law, and that National Council should not be the body assessing omuyes animawi. National Council should be a body assessing my directives. Say neck a proposal. Na National Council a catch almost no. But be a more druid, but be a mona media and your crime passo. A tia party nimra. The tia party nimra entino. Entimi. Not National Council a G Sadi we atum as if said or more power in law. And in MPP's constitution, so they don't have. But my argument, both past and present executives of the party, none of them and espouse these matters of law. No be say emotions. Omoba no wabedi atro. So 98 ABC 90 Twitter and lies. Atro. Nothing of this what happened in 98. And you say, you see, there's another provision, Article 19. You see, before we call delegates conference, annual delegates conference, you must circulate proposals for amendment to the constituencies before Omaba, one clear month before. Like Anopawi in OT region, I spoke to all the 8 constituencies, now 9 constituencies. Many Obiakasa, many 8 Akasa, trying to find out as to whether or not Omunsaka proposals are Omudiba conference nana. Many Wukasa, General Secretary Justin Frimpong Kodria has not circulated any proposals to the party. Ampa Omushasiye edge proposals by 2 months ago. But as to what I say, party Ninsaka, all 276 constituencies, their circulatories are proposals. Many will say, I can tell you on authority that no such thing has been done. In any case, constitution is see you can only presume notice of poll. You can't notice of poll and just what fix the date for election. There's no notice of poll. You only said that by 31st January there will be election. Is that notice of poll? That is not notice of poll. In the sense of notice of poll, and no notice of poll. Many will can say what fix the election date. There is no committee. There is no election committee. Who need election committee? What fix the date for election? Who does that? No. What is the motive? Motive in here.
But where
the decision class current polling station executives. Our mandate will expire in February.
Yeah, February
this year. You are extending. More year meeting.
And February next year.
Next year.
Yeah, 2020.
More year meeting. There was nothing like more extended their tenure. It was not part of your decisions. National Council so more extended by perhaps by convection. Any procedures into no. You want to extend the time for these people or more mandate na multimedia man bibiasa and one is the matransi say you are going no you see
but makati sad decision no more say national delegate conference no woman dey be determine sa extension
no but they, you see that is what they have done enter America church as we speak the proposal have not gotten to the constituencies over time no mu yen so omeya no one cry ha no ma fasia atuatua people. Then when they get there, they won't give people opportunity to debate these proposals. And your mom what up now? One person will come and move motion, and another within them will come and second the motion. Then no major to popular acclamation because Sikasu. The National Council cross Sikasu and not police. Delegates conference against you. National Council meeting. Ya boy man for Sikatu.
That's a serious allegation.
Oh, this is true. What is serious about this one? ADAKABRI. Serious in there. Obi our see. No, be our call council meeting our twaba. So from secretary na utwaba na also 10,000. Omba yenko budua. So we original chairman na 50,000. This just ended national councillor. Let them come. Let's go and yenko budua.
Hey,
I'm telling you, on authority.
Now tell us more about that. Category of persons better give 50,000.
50 no chairman.
When you
They know who gave them money. They know. Mr. Chobibia was so 1 GB omra ni Bodua. Secretary and any person who vote at National Council took 10,000.
And chairman for
50,000.
For what purpose?
For the purpose to support some, excuse me to say, this madness.
Hold on.
Sir, you will roof a building before you dig foundation.
Hold on, Menkobim. It was good. Sir, Otroye.
Yeah.
Charles McCarthy. Na when ni kind, Anke Kadia Woke kind.
Yeah.
It me for a day. Write up no. Edema qualified and practicing lawyer and a historian, anthropologist. Nana Obribuahi. Sir Omperus na young question. Enti Nana Obribuahi. Our line also. Yentie Sir Operusu Yano. Ne stated opinion. And it's saying
lawyer.
There's no suggestion say we a lawyer. Nana Yamwaha. And Nana what is saying?
Oh, Yana
You. Nra would antem de nenso so me sende material de ma.
Me normal isubana.
Aya de. Akoko da ntem a wonya amane.
Oh, so me be 30 years me na yaba.
You. Na me sende material bia editor point of law. Urachas McCarthy. Ochro ye a flagrant disregard of constitutional provisions by the National Council of the MPP. Now, we know MPP a boost of several lawyers, or not also on your lawyer or a journalist. I'm saying, before then, just a mediatuna name, and it's a sending them out. So now, what are your thoughts about the write-up?
Oh, well, but you know, no, that's a matter of the substantive issue. Because, sir, Mr. I don't know what you're at the command body be. Okay, any minute or trouble, no person comment on that. Obviously, we would say allegations in the there were serious allegations which he made. Until in person, my prejudicial comment to be that. But I think that I can be bold enough to deny, sir, and so we are open there. Hey, we are willing. Now, nipa there, this is what you want to wear some bit, but Messi must have a bit. Sir, son, your castle, we GC, we don't GC. Messi must have a bit, sir, and you're not correct. Because we are receiving Namin Binum so. Namin Binum, so Binum dear, with that and moving cry. Messi made in our pin, a castle. It becomes a lady don't go. You can't. So honestly, I will challenge that and I'll put into strictest proof. My name is Quadruna or the Abobese, Binumba Disca, Benfova Disca. Meaning, said,
Nana,
you are dealing with human beings.
Nana, me free say, and we are peripheral on the basis say, the person one Tiasian say, MPP as a body corporate no. Ayama ebisuya. Omo yama ne yefe ebisuya. Enti aye rule of law there. Me free say okra de besa ho safo yin MPP ya de. Na sen National Council be ya de. No ma adopt to aye committee kura no headed by Frank Davis. Now Frank Davis, former chairman Greater Accra Ghana Bar Association. Just enough from sir. Na ono journalist no need no more what you want to say. Really, there's been infraction of the MPP constitution. Nah.
My name is a point clear. Sir, legally, even some infractions in the Ukraine one. Maybe the idea, sir, young Koto presidential, personal. Politically and morally, I hold a contrary view. Politically.
Why are there? Politically, morally, you hold a contrary view. Nane, you know, the entire the blood and come on lawyer for PM Sunday the more. But we will be our canocre. Nana, treat the document na granted with the abrono. Na no legal opinion on it. Nana, me petty.
Oh, legal opinion on something just said. Sonia, ACT, any issues now while raising. Now, my castle, sir, accusations and support the moment and not correct. It is a better man after that, better particulars there. But honestly speaking, from one or the above here, many document
no, me send him out. There is no allegation of any sort. And now or they hono ababetato. I want you to consider document na me kind of say last Monday in its entirety. And I'm before them on Tuesday. And I'm catch on once omra metnase. Na yen ka ho asem. And it's what betnase nyame ayadom yenyawe. Na preamble no and now no go fast allegation because it detach yourself from the allegations. Yes. And then let's pick the specific provisions of the MPP constitution one mention now flowing from there and somehow what can was and whether there's been an infraction of the MPP constitutional provisions now answer there nana.
Yeah, ADAKABRI pharmacy. So MPP constitution, the decision of NEC and the National Council. There's a presumption of regularity. NEC the National Council the Casa. Your father said, and a sana at here. Into what did he say? Enter son. Ona, where's all demonstrating? So the party constitution of Grano, the 2 minutes Yanoma and neck and National Council. May I as an individual, I'm giving that decision no very fast. Say young queer wing and senator wing. Even constitutionally, if it is permissible, if it is acceptable. Speaking for myself, because morally and politically, it is dangerous. Morally and politically, it is dangerous. It will not endure a more MPP as a party.
Now, what could be the ramifications for MPP as a body corporate if indeed such infractions are allowed to proceed?
Politically and morally, it is dangerous. When MPP, you have to abandon you see it. The people bring some kind. The kind, not some kind. Every 2 or 6. Now, ADAKABRI. Delegate system, no. ADA. The value the Ben on farm. No, yes, or so. I quite answer box. But from 207 now, as the regional chairman of Bron and Half, as the Minister of State, Minister of Interior, then Secretary to the National Discipline Committee. Now, Samran, Omofa, Constituency Executives in 9, non-executives in Sia. National is non-executives in Sia. They yi me di town, I should have said yi me di free. Not just a regional chairman, Bro and a half. Minister of State, Interior Ministry, Secretary to the National Discipline Committee. Now, ADAKABRI, Sebe Nipensia, or constituency, are they non-executive? And to come across me, Uncle Pompa, and to come. Bayimia, any. Nanya, ya say, when we me, I request me for the pictures. No, me the pictures a coy. My submit, woman yabo. I tell you, but a black catcher of a say, Benny didn't film. If you send me home bomb, and then candidate. Nanya, give me more cocoa. You're only gone one. Into Cressy, you know. Over Cairo, Chavana, and Locom, no name. Was where a crime no. We know first time to come by and AD, Yenasa aircraft. Because I was found the electoral college, any day. So back in 2021, yeah, Bakumasi Heroes Park. Not for Kessian 1%. Yanyano paid up tax-bearing members. Very better to us. Me did papa. That's a consortium and Quasso Cam. Also did Jinam papa. Yabakumasi. Better yet a Kamasa. Yabara. At the tail end of Yenshebu, the then General Secretary and the then National Chairman. But Yakom, Yakababetic Committee. Yakwa committee no a month. It could see 2022, but to about Manco Buno. Now, in the Aquina, the science was there. I give it no. Obiano MPP Mata, I am no Cretania. Obetim like I said. 2022 started na constituency and regional elections. Your police station election. You come across my uncle because we have Jimmy Gazo Detroit. Because I am sitting a constituency chairman. One have written to Tambara, a police station election. Oh, yeah, and Piopa Soko Biwa. No, me chairman, no. I return. ADAKABRI me cancer. Consumer is in now. Back. Renwa. That's that a year a battle competitive one at the police station. And I have return some. One facility need for police station. Police station for another to about more than a consumer executive.
Okay, Nana, just you defend yes, back to you later in the day because there are indications there the suspended Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, leadership, Gertrude Tokono, is due to speak to the nation. Now, we are preparing in anticipation. Nana, what do you think she's coming to tell us?
Maybe I saw Baba Tandana resignation.
Oh, it may be so better than resignation.
Yeah.
Said that's our suggestion. We was, I mean, say, Obaka say, rebuffed. Na dear na be a yebi so amene hunu nti afi de resign.
Well, something to mean kasama. But what you not catch yourself. At this stage, you know, every I established prima first case. What the resignation cry? President of Obaja because the very legal issues. So, prima first case have been established. Prima first in the Mabate Committee. It's in the midst of what they cry. Legally, constitutionally, whatever Timajo calls a resignation. On paper, on the not all resign as you are some more. But there were legal implications. But the Mamika, maybe a man, okay, Mamika,
because when they Bemuntina Mempese, you're planning the tour, you win your black and one somewhere because this is a written, but our co raise ya somewhere, ye be my quantity and ya co, na ya try si binyan and no somewhere walker, a year get to Tokono, a year leadership. At 2 years, this is and I say, I'm ready. Subsequently, went to make some resign.
Yeah, that is the way I see. I may be wrong or I may be right. Tell me who, because on my prima first year, maybe one, our market committee. For the reason they should go, all the reason they should go, as a president in the GO or as a pay. No, Mrana. At this stage, you know, so guys of the resign. Legally, is the president bound to accept the resignation? These are legal matters. Anyway, president also council of state and lawyers. Okay, when the man it should be a me raising for saying you need to have a bullshit.
Young so now you tin no assembly nana. On this issue now, what me are raising, you know, the best time about one will be this uncommon way say. So, is the president bound to accept resignation on the face of say, establishing a stated incompetence and answer incapacity?
Yes, an committee, no correct.
Yes. So, ain't he? You baby. Nana, you about. Yeah, there was a partner. Nana Obribwa, you know. You go so a to say. Dear, a year former Chief Justice and I said suspended Chief Justice. I rather want to correct myself. They are all canon. Yabeshe na yeti. But then, answer now, Ubekono editor. Dear,
oh, yeah, me cousin, I'm not bring my follow nature. Or you'll be he does not romance legal matters. And when you use deodorant, when it comes to expressing his views. But I'm rather disappointed the way he went about that document, especially when you have indicated, say, what's the name? Because constitution is clear. Except there will be, I mean, kind for the avoidance of that. Also, what I'll say, the National Annual Delegate Conference shall meet once every year, at least 4 weeks after the last of the regional annual delegate conferences. Oh, yes, yeah. A sequential, a mandatory. You cannot vary this one. Whether we are National Council and now we are there. You don't have that constitutional mandate. Constitutional and confer amendment mandate on authority on National Council.
My favorite
see, a sequential, a constitutional defiance, and procedural lapse. Yeah, say this is how you are supposed to do it. And now I saw my crying to a decided say, now let's go and vote from top to down. Because we know
on Facebook Live, I say. I think the journalist sitting in front of you is lying. He just wanted to disrupt the MPP's party with his insane allegations. He must know that this is a suggestion and not the final. So how can someone pay money? The guy is emotionally constipated and need mental laxative too.
Brofona or Peso Trewiawe. He wants Ghana to hear him. Say Hana Ghana tea. I say neat in the entino. He's forgiving. So what follow me and I'm better as the MPP. 8 years 2024 elections. Get out the vote. Amount of mudima each constituency. Me omudi matem. In the end, I bet to I say I won't lie for anything. But yes, oh yeah, you do it within the I have a name of address. I am known by the actors in this thing. Me nitro and trubia. Me say no my no say your suggestions are suggestion ben ye tuya husika. I published on the 2nd day of May. And I'm debate two just there is a plan for this one. Now, regional chairman and a submittee proposal. Almost submittee, a certain running mate is touring the country, meeting constituency chairman ahead of this conference. Nobody has disputed it. And none were by Omoan is Sadiko Jinemu. In that report, I mentioned names of the people who brought the petition. Me neutron to be as you can insult me all you like, but the fact will be stated as I know it. The senior Napoleon Kaya, every other thing here, PR, you be can Ukraine, then journalism. The Ukraine can end your day. And to well control 1817 bro for Abaha emotional constipation and what that is not the fact. The fact is that madness has set in the MPP.
I just stray bullets so they ought to be you.
Do you get it? No, clear ban say a dambo at TSC party. No, and the MPP to send our kind party or your man for Shesu Yebino, and ne or two no ideals in Negu. And all yenya a biniho. It shouldn't be the MPP.
For what purpose?
A political expedience. And the people supporting this are opportunistic, especially our MPs no woman are declare for no. They are opportunistic. These are MPs who have lost touch with their base. And the only things hanging on to the flag bearer or the former flag bearer no, who save them some fate. And yes, Anka, we in Chakwan baby. There's no way in MPP. We have followed MPP politics. By NTC. Because when he became General Secretary, we saw how they managed situations. And that gave MPP 169 seats in Parliament. Because Abreno, Yanko Bia Kasabuan, the opportunity to contest and do it. Then come on a grant amount for a vendor. Waivers and what have you, just to say amount for sacrifice and what have you. In 2012, under Jenko Tanko Bichebelamte, may he so rest in peace. Sad dear we top bottom approach. There was a suggestion that Stephen Asamoah Bati is still alive. Single-handedly fought it across the country. And no more abandoned Sadi. All of a sudden, no men in MPP view. Are there no men in MPP? Kennedy has offered. Matisse Amanfo is a capital intensive. Kennedy has offered. He said, what they say, Sikanti na muye we are. I can help provide $7 million. Mumfa organize the election, Senate. Don't disrupt the process. Senate. You see, the party is failing to admit why they lost the election. Losing the election wasn't because you elected your flag bearer late or early. No. In any case, it was about 1 more year after electing the flag, not to mean running mate. So the essence of even electing the flag bearer earlier was defeated. The National Council G extension date to expire. Another extension expire. So electing the candidate earlier does not help. We elected candidate in Tema. O man dream who a cow babebo. Obi bia we sika na wo call round. Eye Kredia Japan. Friend Bra Champon and others. Oh, show interest or more person more flag bearership race. Of I book we let you say Sadia or Mujitum. Now we let you any other person is closing his or her purse. Una we leader no. Yes, sir.
Na
found it.
Running mate so I would extension so no. Na a 10 year say running mate so no. And we used to go for challenges so by.
I told them when they elected Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, my publication say Opoku Prempeh is putting sand in Baumia's political gari. And truly, Oshia Nwe Gumoba. Omo no mon kano kreno. No more defending. But it turned out that the selection of Napo was the bane of Baumia. Baumia defeat, Napo's candidacy, a contributee more than 30% to that mess. Do you get it? Because and to
increase by 2.5%.
So what corner or 2 for of all the revered king of the occupants of the golden school
14 school fees. We also
this
and a pure 2.5 and but they've raised the issue of inflation, the CD to dollar, and I think average inflation. Gas to make sure that the system is stabilized, way and normal. Mind you, say because of automatic adjustment formula in the review can be upward or downward.
15-16 policies and
first one I started in May. Now and we are 14.5. And now we are ever started in July. 2.5. The cumulatively best.
Dr. Muhammad Baumia. Sir, Dr. Muhammad Baumia to me secure endorsement.
Yeah.
There were high places.
Yeah.
And then the community say, Obefa yeah. Now, President of the Republic 10.
Yeah.
And I do so now. Ono so free ye din komo awie ma ye mfa napo.
Yeah.
Don the okay. Then
boom,
I delay akodi extension kra. Not one man after the kokoko. Mr. President, I'm decided on the running mate. Oh, that's right. And who is that person? Matthew Opoku Prempeh. What? Now, Jide Musa. I say, dear Nema, was surprised the president no said Napo. Eventually, Napo so by ya. The Obeba yeah, no so no. Now, about two Busa say politically, no, Dr. Muhammad Baumia challenge Ben wa face MPP no.
You see, Alaji, Obia, now he wanted to please all, especially the president and every other person. No more ban on in for. No crime to see. You can say anything about what you can't take away from the generosity.
If we say, so bo apayom to ya man panyi enka say ono de onti say se dogo bi no abe no okuan no person okuan mindful say ye tia we no asudi amede be ma aban mu mpanyimfo and say the expectation of every Ghanaian going through this tough moments is to enjoy a certain level of reliability, efficiency, the supply of electricity. Can you defend for future now? When we are taking this money and still we are not seeing it. Yeah, we will not.
Also, man, a copy of what you natural.
Yes.
No, no. Comments be kakra bi ho na on so be ya na yentie so that we betimi asre kwa na waje akire dia ma engineer I am watrase
yeah lawyer me Joe so na wapum tenden
just enyesa just my emre ani bojo da bi so aja ya onti majari kura
ogohe
just why international events
na nse ni sika ne ba ye no ntrafa ko papa yi
ma onso nyebi
yeah
wabre
ADAKABRI wabre one of the nicest guys enche cry mark so me no be ko UK na ko home be 2 weeks we know about
I was a benefited from greater exposure they have great exposure but to have greater exposure na ebebua because need FM no ye nyina ya kan adwene bomu say despite media bouquet of programs that you be happy be an sabeka no ya said yes so be make sure say need FM even beyond the days of ADAKABRI be present the best and it me challenging amongst the stables here at despite media they will have greater exposure engineer me ntie wa
yo ADAKABRI me da sebebre na chance no me da say what they sa documentary breme abrantie a otro ye ona wa hayi me kan wie ye no na me busa sen wan twoni din wase
otro osoro
esoro mum okay anti me ko hu me na me tell say am sa ko head man hwe so no na me tika ma me bai na me busa me hu say NPP pa na se bio ye mofra ye di ebuo etete party no ebie party nanim ama party no ya akono ye di emofra bi yamma won kwan anase kabima kabinti
MPP na kwan ada ye ho ama
kwan enkoda nyina timi kasati empanimfu ewo mu nyina I mean to start what ADAKABRI time I can say NPP madness asset in NPP I said my God do you know ADAKABRI you see the decision we are talking about here was not taken by an individual. The group of people we are talking about includes former President Kufuor. This decision includes the immediate past president of Ghana.
He was not at
Nana Adodankwa Kufuor.
No meeting.
Me pacho.
Okay. Opening comments.
The vice president of Ghana was there. All the previous national chairmen are automatically members of the National Council. They were there. ADAKABRI, we are talking about 275 constituencies in Ghana. Each member, regional constituency chairman, 275. Each of them is a member of the National Council. All the former national executives, including Miami best friend, John Boadu, including Kwabena Ajapon, including even Afoko, crowd no be national chairman, you're suspending no. Sabri, so Okas will national council meeting. Okas because he was the former national chairman. Somebody put together, they form the National Council.
And what madness is setting in.
Now you sit here and tell me that, and tell the whole world, say, party no afide abodam sam na abam san say mpanimfo no mu di animu no omo nwene omo abodam no mu take decisions ay abodam. How can you speak like that? And he's a very young guy. I mean, looking at him, I don't think he's up to 40 years. And you speak, really? I don't know your age, but that is how it's a blessing. If I think you're less than 40 years and you're more than that,
It's a blessing. But what
I'm mindful say a legal issue no reason.
No, but no legality in telling people, the group of people say, "Oh, my people, no take a decision." You can look, ADAKABRI. Whenever
he will not address the constitution.
I am coming to the matter. Can you please? Because I've read your document.
Because I've been here 1 month and I've made time.
You have spoken for more than 45 minutes.
I don't have problem with the time.
No, so give my time. Allow me to have my time. You cannot force me to speak to whatever you have written.
I'll have to go and leave you because when you were
if you want to go, you go. I'll make my point. And I know listeners will make a judgment of your point.
You can contradict.
I am going to contradict you, and I want you to sit here so that I can prove them to you.
When I was speaking, you were not here.
Yes, that's why I've come. Because this is the time given to me to be here. No, if you small boys, what do you want to but nobody sees you. But you have no right to insult the leadership of the party. You have no grammar how? What's it about them some number party? What does it mean?
Is that an insult?
It's not an insult. It's not an insult.
It's grammar.
A grammar how? Grammar means if madness are set in NPP, it's not an insult.
Yes.
This is how they speak, and this is how. Let me ask you. Single question. You said, there's bias. Yet, if you read what he wrote, he didn't tell us the person who is going to benefit from the bias. Can you tell us who do you think is going to benefit from this?
Therefore, ADAKABRI emre odimi statement na mano. Wakan buy na nya na hiano.
Mabusa one question woman. I will make a point out of what you've written. But I'm asking you one question.
Decisions that me write up na mayano. My book constitutional clauses me in NPP constitution. My co article 10(2). HSA before beko annual delegate conference national. Now one year regional delegate conference is a year 4 weeks after that. And son of Betimako annual delegate conference. Many will say MPP nya regional delegate conference. And no omuntimi mpa no ho.
He appears worried about the use of madness setting in.
He may have to go back and listen to what I said. I said madness have set in. I have not said you are mad, you are mad, you are mad. I said madness have set in. And I am describing the situation. Say why would you sidestep a constitutional provision? When you say there are lawyers.
Okay, so answer the question I asked you. I want that to go into your own write-up. Can you answer my question?
What will inform you to take these decisions if you are not motivated by bias?
Okay, so bias, no.
If you are motivated by bias, what will push you to do this?
Can you tell us who is going to benefit from the bias?
Only those who took the decision knows, and you don't.
So how do you know? You know what? So how do you know that?
Who have deductive reasoning.
Yes, so who is that? Did you have in mind?
Take your time and listen. Take your time and listen here. I am making my point. I would have expected that you write counter this thing.
Please.
I am telling him, sir.
Let me start from you.
My deductive reason, I'm coming to strong conclusion. So it is actuated by bias because there was nothing legal, there was no exigency, there was no time constraint for them to do this.
You raised bias, likelihood of bias.
There is bias, no likelihood of bias.
Now, he wants to find out motivation that would lead somebody to take this bias decision, and who is it for?
They know themselves.
How do I know?
They know themselves.
No, how do I know? You should know.
They know themselves.
I see somebody is taking
situation. You see, I am looking at situation, and I'm addressing situations. So if I look at if I put your situation under the extreme situation now, that is what it looks like. So a bias. I don't know why you have a problem with it. Article 9
and the bias in favor of a particular
candidate. That is what I said in my write-up. It could be anybody. I don't care who benefits from it, but there is bias.
Okay.
If not for biasness, the new patriotic party that I know,
you see, this
will not
take
this attitude
now.
You will not sit there allowing address me as Abofra. Let me even correct him. Kufuor was not at the meeting.
But Kufuor is a member.
The fact that you are a member doesn't mean that if you don't even attend meeting,
what is a Kufuor disagree with the decision?
You see, you don't even know that I was there. No, Ghana. Nanado was not there. What was when you committee I could take the decision. Meanwhile, they were not there. Kufuor was not at the meeting. Nanado was not at the meeting. But John Penny was not at the meeting.
Why Kufuor wasn't there?
But why were you creating
he gave his blessing to
why were you creating the impression as though not Kufuor?
But you know that this was discussed with President Kufuor.
So you see, ADAKABRI, a confirmation. Before the meeting, there was a pre-meeting.
Yes.
On account.
Of course, yes.
Why would you do this?
Now, when the book that meeting,
why would you do
that
this?
meeting? Who booked for that meeting? I don't the steering committee. You know who booked that meeting? What are you telling me?
Right, Peter.
You see,
I deal with the substantive issue.
Into
your response.
You see, near Oye, San and Crophobia, Omudi, one of the aspirants, Achi. Kasa rough. And that is how the aspirant, that particular aspirant, speaks. What is all can say? And I was so happy when you raised that matter. Say, there's an allegation, say, or no, constituency chairman Bia was given 50,000 Ghana cedis to vote in the superdelegate. And that's not okay. Ni boss, Papa na udine chino. Ebe catch the Ghana for say. Every constituency chairman was given 100,000 Ghana cedis to vote. In fact, or quiet, can say some of them were even given V8. Now, ADAKABRI, you see, look at the danger when we peddle this kind of lies and what allegations. The boss wouldn't catch the Ghana for say. Ghana, primaries now and people you call, you know. One of the candidates ever catch the Ghana for say.
We can now access the voice of the suspended Chief Justice. Get through to Kono.
The live, press conference now, you know. If you say Ghana for TV.
You know, you see a shena, be a timidity, be a sempoti, suspended Chief Justice, no, over country Ghana for. Na Yabasaba, na Yababe, you know. Shall we? Okay. Yes.
The officials include, apart from Superior Court justices, commissioners of Traj, commissioners of NCCE, commissioners of the Auditor General, and the chairman and the vice chairman and members of the Public Service Commission. The third reason for this statement is that in order to address the troubling violations of the Constitution and illegality of the proceedings that have become obvious to me, that became obvious to me from the beginning of the process. I started an action in the Supreme Court. I applied for the proceedings of the committee set up by His Excellency the President to be held in public, so that in the interest of transparency and for the truth in the matters being raised to be made known to the people of Ghana. I did so because I knew that the secrecy of the proceedings for removing justices was not created in the Constitution as a cover-up for any agenda. The Constitution expects that only reasons for removing the Chief Justice and public officials as set out in Article 146 will be the reason for doing so. And especially, such reasons must affect public sensitive national interest or public order or safety. I realize that in my case, should the public be made aware of the allegations in the petition, they would realize that none of the allegations made border even remotely on matters of national interest or matters of public order or safety, or anything that indicates that I'm unable to perform the functions of my office. I could only spend $4,400 and I returned $9,600 2 days after I returned from Ghana, from my journey. And so I knew that it was necessary that I swore to a supplementary affidavit alerting the Supreme Court also of human rights violations that I had started encountering when I went to the article. The committee's refusal in breach of the rules of natural justice to recognize my lawyer on the first day of proceedings simply because I was not personally present with him. And they went ahead to make arrangements for the hearing with Mr. Daniel Ofori and Shining Stars not to testify at all or present what case they brought to them at the hearing. The committee has refused to allow me to go into the hearing. Ordered high security zone on Castle Drive, Osu, when all Article 146 proceedings since 1993 have been held in facilities of the Judicial Service. It is hard not to reach the conclusion that the choice of on-dual investigation to hold the view that there's no reason why a judicial hearing is being conducted behind the high walls of Edu Lodge. At this Article 146 hearing, no rules provide a writ, a petition, or a complaint. It is also the duty of that committee or court or tribunal to give copies petitions that His Excellency the President gave to them. They refused to give me copies, a copy of the prima facie determination with copies of my responses. The difficulty with this is because they are the independent body charged with them to you about, and so that is what we will be inquiring into. There is no evidence given by him on oath. He has not authorized anyone to testify on his behalf. 2010 CI 65. And in Article 1467 of our Constitution, if a committee is set up, the committee is supposed to, quote unquote, inquire into the petition, the answer, and the prima facie case. Therefore, we are dealing with a committee of inquiry. In spite of this, on 15th May, the committee discussed his case as he sees fit, own rules regarding proceedings of a committee of inquiry. Because a committee of inquiry must have its own lawyer. And when it starts the proceedings, the petitioner becomes no more than a witness for the committee to prove the allegations that led 2025. This strange process has been followed up and witness after witness has been called. Like Nebuchadnezzar's situation, in which he demanded that the magicians in his court should tell him his dream and also interpret it. My lawyers are left to guess which allegations in the petition being carefully laid out before the parties. Ladies and gentlemen, it is this total absence of compliance with all known rules in the High Court to declare all the proceedings void. Because the clear danger is that through this flagrant violation of CI 47 and the darkness of the current proceedings being held in camera behind the walls of Edu Lodge, my lawyers and I can come to the end of the proceedings. The evidence will show that every one of those allegations in the petitions that were given to me on 27th March is unfounded and untrue. And yet, the committee can dig up some allegation from whatever documents they claim to be having from the president, which they have not shown to me, and purport to enter a recommendation for my removal on that basis. Allow me to say that in the rule of law in this country, if it was lawful, of the dangers they represent, it is the violations of law that have forced me to bring these matters out in the light of day. The final and fourth reason for this statement is that I have heard on several occasions from loved ones, persons who care, persons who may not know me beyond my public duties, and many who think that since these proceedings seem to be carefully staged to result in my removal as Chief Justice, it would be best if I just retired or resigned rather than subject myself to an ill-motivated process. I have also received threats and veiled threats to the effect that if I fail to resign or retire voluntarily, I will be made to suffer some harm or the other. I've also heard commentaries in the media about how this process was born out of a stated political agenda to remove me and control the judiciary, and that it is a political effort that can only result in an outcome that was decided long before it started. I thank everyone who has engaged in this conversation out of concern for my safety and well-being. Let me assure everybody that I am not seeking to cling to a title or a position. However, as a lawyer of 38 years standing, a judge of 21 years standing, and Chief Justice who has served the rule of law all my working life, in fact since I was 25, it is my onerous duty and obligation to speak up concerning anything that is extremely wrong with the administration of justice in this country. This is what I do every day. The situation I have been confronted with has shown me a model of injustice that I would never have thought possible if I had not been exposed to it. This is why, despite great personal discomfort, I have decided to marshal every effort in law and leadership to answer to this situation. Again, resigning or retiring while Article 146 proceedings are being conducted to remove a judge is not an option any judge or public official can even have. There is a decided case on the matter by the Supreme Court. The suit number is J6/02/2019. Again, no one has the authority to walk away from proceedings started by the state. Judgment can be entered against you because you fail to defend yourself. And a judge who resigns or retires would still lose all entitlements that they have worked for because they failed to defend the claims and resigned or retired while the proceedings were still going on. Therefore, if false claims are made against a judge or commissioner or other public office holder subject to Article 146 proceedings just to achieve a political agenda, the solution cannot be to resign or voluntarily retire out of frustration, pressure, or fear. You would only subject yourself to two cruelties: a judgment based on false claims and loss of everything you have worked for. It may well be that the efforts being made are intended to frustrate me so that I resign so that the architects of the scheme can go back into the media and say that the wild and unfounded allegations were not defended because they were true and I had no defense to them. As Chief Justice of the nation, who has been given the privilege and obligation to lead administration of justice, I should not turn tail and run when I know the implications of not defending false and unwarranted charges. If I resign under these circumstances, I will be saying that this flawed, unknown, and opaque process is acceptable. It is not. Finally, let me respectfully say that the current bizarre proceedings I have brought to your attention present a twist to our nation's democratic journey that we all ignore at our own cost. My humble view is that Ghana has come too far in the 33 years of the Fourth Republic not to be concerned about the unconstitutionalities that have been designed not to affect just me personally as Chief Justice, but all judges and public officers subject to removal processes of Article 146. If this one is successfully carried out without being questioned. Behind me is every judge in the country. Behind me is every commissioner or head of an independent constitutional body in the country. If this is successful, it will be tried on anyone. I am not countering these processes for myself, but on account of the leadership burden that I carry. If the nation is willing to accept these developments in its democratic journey, it must be understood that I sounded the warning and the nation took the decision to be passive about it. I cannot share the burden of those involved in designing and implementing this enterprise of pretending to use Article 146 proceedings to remove a Chief Justice through unknown and unlawful means, by keeping quiet about the violations of law and due process. Neither can I make anyone's burden lighter by resigning or retiring, instead of proving that not even one of these wild claims in a collection of petitions is even remotely true or meets the standard required for removing a judge. Now, allow me to take you a bit of your time to walk through these petitions. They have been in the public domain for some months now. They are actually available on the internet, so I'm not addressing anything that is not known in the public space. Many negative things have been said about me through public commentary on the petitions, although the petitions were responded to 7 days after I received them. And so anyone who cared to acknowledge my side of the story would have had no need to keep repeating the petitions without discussing them with the answers. And when I provided these answers, I also added with evidence to prove that each allegation was either a lie, a wrong opinion about how work is conducted in the judicial service, a wrong opinion on the work of judges, or a wrong opinion on the duties of a Chief Justice. I'll start with Mr. Daniel Ofori's petition. It is a petition with the most claims. Only 2 out of the several allegations he's making involve him personally as a court user. In one of those allegations, Mr. Daniel Ofori is urging that I should be removed as Chief Justice because I transferred a case in which he's a party from one judge in the High Court to another. That is the crime. What Mr. Ofori did not seem to know, which I stated in my answer to that allegation, is that the judge his case was transferred from had a family crisis and had to leave Ghana suddenly for an extended period. This is the only reason why cases she was handling, including Mr. Ofori's cases, were distributed to other judges to handle. In the second allegation, Mr. Ofori accuses me of transferring a case related to the first one to the new judge who took over his case, after a petition had been sent to me to have the two cases heard together. Any lawyer or registrar could have informed him that it is a policy written into the rules of court to have cases between the same parties involving the same issue to be heard by one judge, so that we don't have different decisions from two judges on the same matter. So there is no basis or truth to the allegation that I transferred his cases to a new judge because I had an interest in his cases. Indeed, in the year 2020, I wrote a dissenting opinion in one of Mr. Ofori's cases in the Supreme Court. He won that application because my dissenting opinion was a minority opinion of 3 judges. The other 4 judges supported his application. After this, his lawyers applied that I should not sit on his cases again because I had presided over a different case involving him in the High Court when I was in the High Court in, I think, 2010, which he had also lost. Since then, I have not sat on any matter involving the gentleman. But what is disturbing about the current Article 146 proceedings is the fact that the cases that he is complaining about in the High Court, the ones that were transferred to one judge, started from a judgment in the Supreme Court written by His Lordship Justice Kwaman in favor of Daniel Ofori. How can Justice Kwaman, who gave judgment in favor of Daniel Ofori as part of a panel of Supreme Court and whose opinion I dissented with, which has made me a target of Mr. Ofori's anger, preside over processes to remove me as Chief Justice because of complaints that Mr. Ofori has? I have already protested that there is a conflict of interest for Justice Kwaman to chair the committee trying me or hearing me on Daniel Ofori's petitions. What Mr. Ofori's allegations seem to suggest is that a court user can attack the Chief Justice and ask for the removal of the Chief Justice if the Chief Justice does not agree with his case while sitting as a judge, or if his preferred judge is unable to hear his case. And now the judge who supports his case gets to preside over the removal process. Apart from these 2 allegations, Mr. Ofori has no personal interest in all the other allegations he's making. And he should not have been allowed to conduct a litigation against me under the disguise of an Article 146 proceeding. In 2 allegations, he's complaining that I misappropriated public funds to buy a ticket for my husband and my daughter to travel with me. In answer to this, I handed over my letter of appointment to prove that in my conditions of appointment as Chief Justice, Ghana graciously gave me 2 vacations in a year. In the Judicial Service travel policy, since 2010, the Chief Justice can never travel alone for security reasons, and the Chief Justice is always allowed to travel with a spouse or another person of their choice. So traveling on my officially given vacations with my husband on one occasion and my daughter for the second vacation is part of the official conditions of my appointment as Chief Justice. I was also not responsible for buying the tickets in question, such that I could be said to have misappropriated the value of the tickets. Indeed, if the Judicial Service was not allowed to buy the tickets for my vacation, the remedy was for the Auditor General to surcharge me to refund the money. Anyone can check out the 2023 accounts of Judicial Service and know for themselves that there is no surcharge against me or anyone for the tickets that were purchased for my vacations. Ms. Ofori seems to be alleging that I should have traveled with my police escort alone on vacation and not a family member. And this is why he wants me removed from office. And I'm being tried or held behind the walls of Edu Lodge. Ladies and gentlemen, the question to be asked is, why would anyone demand that I go on vacation given to me as Chief Justice with my police security, instead of going with my husband or my daughter? And how can this be a reason for subjecting a Chief Justice to a committee of inquiry? In the petition I received, Mr. Ofori also complains that my family members should not have been given per diem when they traveled with me, and I have misappropriated the per diem they were given. But anyone reading the Judicial Service travel policy will find that it provides that when the Chief Justice travels with anyone, whether police escort, another judge, secretary, or a spouse, that person is given per diem. And the rate of per diem is not set or administered by me as Chief Justice. It is regulated and administered by the Finance Directorate and the Judicial Secretary. I've already told you about the retirement of the imprest. In an arm of government where there are almost 8,000 staff that I oversee, Mr. Daniel Ofori's petition contains allegation that I transferred one member of staff to work on a different schedule, and that is why I should be removed as Chief Justice. He also alleges that I have refused to reinstate two members of staff whose appointments were terminated around 2015, 10 years ago, when I was nowhere near being Chief Justice, and whose issues are still being heard in court. He goes on to allege that I should be removed for terminating the appointments of two staff members who went through disciplinary proceedings that were initiated by reports against them before I became Chief Justice. Though it is not clear to me why Mr. Ofori should demand that the Chief Justice should be removed for transferring a member of staff or be the final authority to sign any termination letter, I handed over to His Excellency the President records covering every administrative step on these matters, supported by the due process administered by the right officers. And yet, without issuing a prima facie determination, a warrant of suspension was signed, and now I'm defending myself where there is no petition on the table. Another allegation of Mr. Ofori is that I appointed the former Judicial Secretary as Judicial Secretary when she was a judge, and so I have made her inefficient. Now, anybody who cares to know the records which I handed over to His Excellency the President was that she became Judicial Secretary in 2018. She became a judge in 2019. I was nowhere near being Chief Justice. I was appointed in June 2023. Ms. Ofori also alleges that I have appointed judges as registrars, and this has introduced inefficiency into the management of courts. Again, the records will show that the Judicial Council decided in May 2023, before I was appointed Chief Justice, that lower court judges should be appointed as registrars of the Supreme Court. So what I did was just to implement the Judicial Council's decisions. Then, Ms. Ofori alleges that a certain gentleman, not himself, but someone, who had a case in the Supreme Court in January 2024, met a different panel in May 2024, 5 months later, So I should be removed as Chief Justice. He also claims that I refused to fix an application in a case that did not involve him in Accra, which case was pending in Koforidua. So I should be removed as Chief Justice. He complains that I supervised the Judicial Secretary to administer a decision of the General Legal Council, which was taken before I became Chief Justice. So I should be removed as Chief Justice. If you read all my responses, you'll find that I provided all the records behind these decisions. Then he complains that I recommended judges to be appointed to the Supreme Court, so I should be removed as Chief Justice. Now, anyone who knows how appointments are made with recommendations from the Ghana Bar Association, the Attorney General, and the Chief Justice will know that this last complaint only shows ignorance of a very long-standing tradition. It has been the settled practice for decades that in the recommendation of justices for the superior courts, it is the Chief Justice, the Ghana Bar Association, and the Attorney General who have the privilege of making recommendations for those who are to be nominated. The recommendations can be refused or accepted by the President. I encourage anyone to read the judgment of the Supreme Court in the case of Ghana Bar Association and others versus the Attorney General, 2015-2016, to Supreme Court of Ghana Law Reports 872, when this matter was even discussed, and other academic works that discuss this practice that has been around for decades. How has it suddenly become unconstitutional or wrong conduct or incompetence for the Chief Justice to recommend to the President to consider for nomination judges who, in her view, satisfy the constitutional standard of high moral integrity? Yet, despite all the evidence provided, there is a hearing being conducted at Edu Lodge. I have taken this walk through Mr. Ofori's petition to show that the allegations have no bearing whatsoever on any sensitive national issues or public safety or order, or my inability to perform my functions as Chief Justice. They also do not have any basis in law or truth. They are just an attempt to gather a lot of complaints together, regardless of whether they are true or not, whether they are justified or not, just to have an excuse for the conduct of this inquiry that breaks all the rules of fair hearing. I'll be done soon, don't worry. There's also a petition from a gentleman called Mr. Ayamga Akogo. His complaint is that on 14th November 2024, after the Supreme Court had given a ruling which went against him, I, as presiding judge in the Supreme Court, ordered his arrest without any reason. He attached an exhibit to his petition, which was a media report from a group called the Law Platform. This media report says that after the Supreme Court panel had ruled against Mr. Akogo, he started to shout in the courtroom, and that is why he was taken out of the courtroom. Essentially, therefore, his own exhibits contradict his claims. Mr. Akogo goes on to claim that when he applied for a copy of the day's proceedings, which were signed by all the judges that presided on his case, he did not see a record that he had been arrested. So I should be removed as Chief Justice. What is significant about this petition is that Justice Puaman sat with me as one of the judges who heard Mr. Akogo's case and was named as a witness that Mr. Akogo will call. But His Excellency the President has appointed him to chair an inquiry into this petition, and he has accepted to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, Article 1273 of the Constitution indemnifies any judge against any action or suit for any act or omission by him while exercising judicial power. This provision was just last week cited as a reason for declaring a petition against the Supreme Court nominee frivolous. And yet, I'm supposed to be defending myself on the petition of Mr. Kogo for work done in the Supreme Court with 4 other judges. The last petition is from a group called Shining Stars. Searches have shown that no such group is registered in Ghana. Yet, it has petitioned against me, and they claim that during the hearing of the case of Afenyo Makin versus Attorney General and the Speaker of Parliament, when I sat as a judge, I failed to hear the side of the Speaker of Parliament before the Supreme Court made an order, so I should be removed as Chief Justice. Again, I can only point to the fact that no judge sits alone in the Supreme Court, and the court's decisions are the decisions of all the judges who sit together. So you will see that every decision I took that is complained about by Mr. Ofori, Mr. Kogo, and the group calling itself Shining Stars was done as a part of a panel of at least 5 judges that made up the Supreme Court. And all judges in the panel are indemnified by Article 1273. How tenable, if I can respectfully ask, can it be that a petition to remove the Chief Justice from office can be entertained on these grounds? Every administrative decision is supported by my constitutional obligations, and I have shown with exhibits, or I showed to His Excellency the President with exhibits, that each decision that was listed was taken after due process, and yet a warrant of suspension was issued against me without giving reasons. Interestingly, there have been some recent suggestions about rules being made to safeguard judges from frivolous attempts to remove them from office. It sounds like an attempt to assure the judiciary that after unconstitutional and illegal means have been used to remove me, conditions will be made safer for those who help with it, or those who may be afraid by the current occurrences. Despite the interesting new discussions of rules for removing judges, I am convinced that it is only a matter of time for the nation's democracy to experience the bitter harvest of what I am reporting. And if this nation descends into the kind of proceedings behind closed doors that break all the rules of adjudication or inquiry as we know them, after all the progress that we have made in the rule of law, that descent will lead us to a place where no judge, commissioner, or head of an independent constitutional body will be safe from compromise created by fear, intimidation, threats, or a desire to please. A new standard would have been set where judges comply with what influential persons want, or stand the risk of losing everything, including their career, their pensions, and their reputations, through the smear campaigns that can accompany the process. Any petition will be enough to invoke the danger of being removed by proceedings that are not supported by law and which can be shrouded behind high security walls. I am confident that in my journey as a lawyer, as a judge, and now as Chief Justice, there is no one person in this country who can look at me in the eye and accuse me of taking a bribe to decide a case. This is the personal treasure of integrity that I live with. So what if these current proceedings are being carefully staged to result in my removal as Chief Justice, even if there's no lawful justification? All I have stated shows that any such action would have been done on the basis of lies and violations of law and due process. As a career judge who has served under 4 presidents, from High Court through Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, I could never have imagined such irregularities possible if I had not personally encountered them. I am also a mother, and I am a grandmother who must hope for better than this for our country, its rule of law and its democracy. On my part, I chose to respect His Excellency the President's warrant of suspension, even though it was clear to me that it was not supported by a prima facie determination that is required by the Constitution and decisions of the Supreme Court. I have chosen to honor the process set in place to hear the petitions, but I do not choose to hide from the nation that perversion of law, rules, and due process, as we all know them, are driving the proceedings, and this renders the proceedings unconstitutional. I choose to trust that such darkness will not totally engulf this nation. May God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. Thank you very much.
Neat FM Neo.
Neat 100.9 FM Suni. Now, Sabri will say just before 4 p.m. The suspended Chief Justice of the Republic, a ladyship, Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Tokono, only one my akasa. Now, what can be the actual? Say, Norma Ecosono, Neni Enyeho. Na idea the Cassa Mono, a Bejipre, na Yedjum. But then, young engineer. Peter Chubuesiakon and Natina Hasaya Yedi Comono. The engineer any reaction kakra.
ADAKABRI. In fact, Miti Hangina saw him anima on semani ayet toto. Maria ho papa. In fact, so ma menon sama walker. Apart from say all kinds na or the a defending a home. Bibi actually say onye boni bia actually say you bet your petition say you free hono. The laws, procedure, the perversion of the laws of the country no are ho say emra ye di ebu o man anase ye di etiti o man em o man ni no ya hye da nipa bia hye da say ye busu ase na tetena pansam no. And this is very sad. Say fundamental human rights. HSA. So be your bonena de ne kokotwa. Dia ugina so awde ne ekokoto no. Etwa se wo dis handsome ni nyina ma nipa no. Na nipa no nhwe se we ni ene nipa so gina so a. Ye de wa ba gina koto se be yiwa no. Ebe pumene ma me nsem ho kan se ye no kra dia. Na che say very serious. Say committee na ya set up crase omo investigating no. Documenta ya de chere say ya allegation against her. Nia president edi share in some no. They have to give copies of everything to her to defend herself. And so abapu meni yemfa ba kokra ma no. Nipa no so omo cho petition ba no. Emra chere say etwa say omo swear oath. Na omo eka say yes. Sa document ya modi a chere me. Eyampa say me na me chiro ye me me signature na wase no na upon this oath ya making so e kire say me ntro me ntwan kontompo e wo nyame anim ene Ghana mremu sa nkrofo no ye ma omu megina adaka mu enswe say aye omo ena e chiro sa krata no ena ye bu sa maami nsem e free krata bia omo so eda omo anim a maami no eni copy. The lawyers in so ye ma omo kwan say omo interrogate sanko from the petition by no and na yama ho kwan say sa nipa na omo tro allegation no omo bodin say sa asoma mi kan kura no sa nipa simasi o hu information mo pa mo friend musa no na ya spina sa nipa no say omra court no committee no e say okay papa we a o tro allegation by no wa bo nipa simasi din say ono kura wonim hu bibi na ya kofre nipa na begina ho na ye court no you know petitioner no lawyer ebusa na nsama fa ho just to prepare the case na ye de ama ye wi na ya say madam chief justice wonso ma lawyer go busa na nsam wa bra nipa na otro sansam ne ba ye ma no me swear oath say sa oath ya making e kire say asema making e no kore in fact metie ma me no mera ho yie papa now you see ADAKABRI apart from say yeah politics no on my dach no e kire yensa o say ekobasa bibia ye de be politics on my no dach no ye de beto atopre na ye de bibia ye politics obi ho hinti yense no enu nti no man nkoso no enu nti adia enye no na ye hwe na ye ADAKABRI in fact ma men sama all canon ne no Mesia fem na se we pa na President Mahama eka se yenma na kwanya etoso mienu na omeye president na enema oye ya enye no onye kwanya no on correct no what this period enema no oni ho kwanya bia so obesa be president bio no o me correct ya is that what he came for? This is going to go on record say kobase nyema ya oma chochoi ogina so ampara na or the pam ma ministry was chief justice. It will be one of the biggest failures a bit denting the image in his life.
It means show Article 146 processes here okay constitution no enim di ntia o kan say yen kansem no ewo dem na sisi esusu no ono susu no ayilete yen pa press conference enka yemusa say emfasodie bi abaso ana
ADAKABRI you see one say the law is made for human being. There is no law that doesn't have human face. Amra ni penti ne yemra. Okay, say time Supreme Court. Ye to abawie ye na NPP ede sa asem no ekopie mo Supreme Court no. Amra no say etwase nka di asem no wabra kamre ma ho. But because asem no was public interest in it no. Supreme Court impani fort na so e kan say da bi. Ade we ye kan dem na Ghana for anhu bia resource no ba obi abetumi aka ne ope anu nti yemfanto afidie so na Ghana ni bia ewia satam kana mo UK in fact me wadwuma mu a me phone kutam say ya from 8 o'clock ne 9 o'clock come no me te ho akopum 3 o'clock come bepon every day because me wie ya me koye radio program I need to listen to be able to interpret and say make kan niema isi here Buama iwiase ba bia obi ati follow ye wie ya judgment no ba ye no nipa judgment no ko against you no o can say in fact sa judgment ya ba yi ono na kom mu pa de oni court no nya adwen enso so enam say oji rule of law edinti no wagiatum Ghana ni bia ntime ka ho hwibio because everyone followed this matter we are talking about. The removal of the Supreme Court Justice, the Chief Justice, and the ordinary Chief Supreme Court Judge. Judge for we are seeing now, one more Ghana, no. Mami and the Dominano. So removing her must have a very good reason. Doubt. Now, when your constitution, you know. The entire man who here didn't crash removing a chief justice and yet just ordinary. So bia or your president bia ba was who chief justice me he won o kra o mpema na nim ho bi me banya asem uma asem no ditia no se na obi mo ada competition and me you ofi ho no Kwame Nkrumah ye bi time a Kwame Nkrumah be president e wo Ghana ha na on pese I know say we CPP nti we no make an obo story am making Kwame Nkrumah e pese Onu ankasa edi time na obeye one one party state our Ghana ha na obeye president for life asem ko PM Supreme Court ema a judge for tena so ema asem no government no lucy no and a president no ejina ho epamo the then chief justice ho obra onyina emra bia so enu na ye the fourth republic yen constitution ye dey share mu say so we chief justice everywhere if you so follow petition now follow mra na bibia che say ampa say maame na say nipa na wo ha wo yi na je no e wo mra kwa mu sa na wo tie ne maame kan ya lawyer
the wo can say Kwame Nkrumah chief justice no yen nyina mpa e bo ne say mo bi ankoto bombombo na so your president ni ye to bomb na nyame ye wadom na enku amono mu wa na subsequently no ebi kun na say obetis will be say igbo alo na ye kona ekokoye ya na a personal but way there na me busa na say yamfa so ye judge asemi de wanim afi ne nipa na wo be wanim no na why in press conference waka na asemi this is a chairperson of the panel no kura no no so ye ni nua judge no and waka nsem bia on can directly so why you say kura na ubeka ne say udu adwene bu say na opeso wo kire
yes
na mpo say ade na constitution no share say yenye no dem na wankasa kire mu so na ye judge fo nyina panyini say we senior most wo wa elect say the constitution is yenye no afi dru so no wa be mu say dabi me de me yenye the constitution is yenye no ha say na me de befa ni busa say mfaso die bia baso ana ye be sesamra ne da achi bia be kasa ampa pen say yenka ne dem bi mu ana
no adakabre the thing is and I make us say the law is made for human and there is no law that doesn't have human face so long as there is an interest a nationwide interest say ade na yekoso no obi abese ohwe bi na obi anya ho akwanya enko gina court ho enko gina ho nti na yekoso no adenti na yema akwanya because it wouldn't change anything. It will only expose those who are truly lying. That is the only thing it's going to do. It's going to influence a judge for no. Say, and I'm saying yeah, show what TV so I'm gonna be here on life unti. Young cop because what we did in 2013 that was even serious than this because if a certain president who has been sworn in court after 8 months and declare national TV so say president na no it was unlawful and free on your president Biwa. That was even very serious and yet that matter was determined on television live matter we or series of events I say the removal of her was predetermined instances are and this company for can say so people have cited and I wish in Swa a bimo at their court president was a Yampamonona. None of them and a warrant to say even a year quarter a world classy a year secured court umpuno. You bet me the example of judge. Talk less of a Supreme Court Chief Justice.
You see, and the butter anything.
The butter any say near Ecosono. Eye bua payobi and nipa bi de ne ho ahi a predetermined say ye be pam no and nti yemfa any frivolous means any akonya biaso. But you see, people will push, political party base will push, but the leader, the president who has been elected to supervise Niakoso Maimono, if you allow your party influences, that's all the Kodianimun, when I order no, and Nadia Oya Nakamko, a very serious legacy, negative one. President Obaya, one year, so be or their palm chief justice everywhere. It's a very serious matter.
And you say, no,
it's a very serious matter.
Literally, who share, who find say president in the addition of Bono, as en ka call and she say no pa dear. President in Kanajuma Wayano, governed by Article 146, says will be the petition by President you President you say. Into your hase no, come back soon you bit me directly, as a president no, and or no, young fan one time someone.
And now one more instances of but acquire a fast investigating a chief justice when a committee of inquiry is set. Mrana ye digna so ye no o man follow o makofa mra foforo nom de ye oh yes okotu ye wante okotu ye 146 omudi ye adwuma sisi ano that is unknown enna sa wo hwe ba bia ya kam na kotena ye say edana ye kodi asem ye ko interrogating wo mu no it is ayi awarefo oba no okunu gya aware na o court obi ama hobi adan wabra owo ne ma na busuafo this matter no at least so dan na ni kura no hu se ni nua bi te ho a me encourage na oba mo de na kwose summu na mo popo mo ni kire no ni lawyer fo nkumo ma ne nkasa nipa no obewura ma ma me say na omo de omo nsa kura keka no omo de omo safa no hu nyina chief say bombo na o de ahye no ho oba chief justice o was say samra bia ni ho ma ho kwan say even chief justice or to kwan kwa manonia on kwampo ye searching say ordinary person because or one dignity or protected people that, I mean they are seen differently. The president Jacob Abi ain't mean searching say ordinary person. Na chief justice na maame panimu na ne yonko ba o sebemo ne de nsabo no fo ho ne de nsabo no to ne de nsabo ne ahwe se etuo che ne ho a what is the meaning of this?
Edi ni nyina mu no nsem no ano ka no nso ka say we ntine asi enyimi o we ntine asi enyimi o we ntine asi enyimi o na wo hwe rendition na no de banana enya asem nwanwa bia ntine ye beka se enyi no sa enya asem nwanwa bia no se oka kire committee no a e wo dem a na wa meka nche ye wa abonten a e de na nka be sai
wo se asema nkrofo ka se ebe ya nka andi sifo aye determine so be sake no no ompam no nka on reason ansa no masake no no o ma instances I che say on to me nyesa because on the yemranim fo panyi wo Ghana ha enu to reason a na asas entansa na jabo no no eye no kre enti won to me nya no enti no reason on nyesa enu so pa ho apart from so be lose all the entitlement no enu so doesn't make because of family enu so pa ho wo say ade na ye no apart from one no any lawyer I be man awura dem ho no any other person and until whatever is going to be reported is going to be from a third party a different person and nipa no that say a judge and a reporter man no and I say yet why no because asem no ye this is our recommendation to the president ma ye hear asem no pamo wa pre obi ani nyina so a no nti omudi pamo no anunti nia ekoso ni and one instances emra omugina so ekwan omfa so omde ye ekwan documenta president man no a etwase nka by law no omoye copy no omde man no no omkese nsengwe anyway and a president kan ye ye de bre no no de bre ye hwe mu prima first na ye hwe mu no say so na ye hwe mu na hu say wo odi mra odi wo asam etwase wo answer hom sa na ma ni nyina ye mfa man no
ditesi ano
anunti nia ekoso ase no say
de waye se obi gina baabi ka se otutu anoma ho na wabeka kire wo manma se de ye koso no se ntwaye na on resign in fact 21 years as a judge 35 years as a lawyer starting off as a 25-year-old na dwuma waye ni nti so be resign midstream na any entitlements nyina be bona na say
abey asem na ho say obi atimi fa kwan bi so pa mu judge no
can entitlements and pension
and was I can say on say ye be pam
if I could finish you see ano obe go through the mail to go through the mail na afi ebubo no a na ko ba say ye de me kan ye ni
dabi yes ano person kire adakabre wo say Nia ekoso no nyina apart from say wabegina bontia okasa no she is not going to speak about any other thing than the document that is already in the public domain because time one me kind 3 petitions no me kind first one that na we in so be second one the third one na me kind ye na okase maame no tu kwan na o tu kwan no one ne ba ne koye na omo koye no omo de omo je pede ma. And I think there's a case here. And I'm reading a response. And on ma emra man ho kwan say oye chief justice o tu kwan a utimi ne ukunu ana say obaba akon ne mo tu kwan mo kon so a emra na ma ho ka say be ma mo wo o pay dem and ne wo ba no pay dem because we jai na oye and odi wo chi na odi no koye and security and me can then say there's no case in the case you all pan saying na ADAKABRI say uti ne ekoso na ma me no de o kan a eye different wo mu eye the procedures now the perverting the law na e wo ma Ghana ha no so
a perversion of law is serious
a very serious matter
what can I say no
ADAKABRI a very say the precedents are here set
imagine say obi be appear before a panel of judges or no ye head na nipa kro di kan gina bonte ke kan de wo kan ya nipa ne ba na nimu a can she be swayed by comments and nipa na ya
asema okan no say eye no kura say ne okan no ba kura ni ho eye no kura dia they have the right to question her say procedure na ye follow no eye mra na ama ye follow so that say
now okodem a womo a wakaste womo ame nyina ehunu say ye bibia enye no but womo nyina so ye lawyers of repute and na womo eka ho
na mame onye chief justice enso so ayebone enti womo so betima ayebone womo betima ayebone
womo so enye lawyer for na do maka pane no to koduru dem ho a na fe womo so confront
womo ka ho womo nye lawyer for nyina ye NDC for mpani for na do maka ho so if president says this they can be blindfolded ama o magia tum se ne awo president aka na ye be ya ma no
antembusa aseti no emfasode be ne be
o kan mame adakabre o kan sem bi o say sa papa ba ko a o ka petition no ho no case bi bae case no o me dey call high court no judge na o tran so and say go do supreme court no high judge na o tran so no or my judgment in favor of tani pano and obi so ya appeal and be pay nanim o hear judgment na or no judge no e ma ye no o say da bi enye sa na senke ye na judgment no o change no ka say da bi enye kwa say na ye e no pass a new judgment new verdict and the question first one no sa nipa na oti president appointing say on committee na investigating mami no sa nipa no on the ma fair judgment na a favor sa nipa na what allegation against mami no on ye chairman of the committee anunti say what the mami we be gina ho na say nipa na akopata the same case number say ma Mr. Judge una ye chairman o ka say na anim hobi o pass judgment sa mami a me na be gina wanimi ono nso court na asem no so edane wasem no anunti pam no mami officer judge no be den anunti or indirectly no me de wan kase pam judge no we chairman of the committee but to me from today onwards the man should recuse himself from the committee. Obvious.
It is new language,
It should recuse himself.
The secrecy of the proceedings for removing judges was not created in the Constitution to be used as a cover-up for any agenda.
Exactly. And I've started the instances before I hear
the whole process in the agenda.
Of course, yes. I mean, it's an agenda because before the election of 2024, NDC publicly said, Nyame Bono Mami will be the target, the first person they will remove. Now what can we? Na say Obiako because you see, I don't know that I can't say Obi Jina Bontina ka say wo menyawa meku a a threat. A court to me chill. Am I jelu me boa? Because as adia wo kan asem no. E betima ba say Obi kura betima ko fa chi no koku no. Anunti anam so maka say mo ba pam no nti. Ya ba mamu ma Obi akotro some flimsy petition and the anti that is what is happening.
Finally, or say we should the Constitution enjoins every Ghanaian to uphold, defend, and preserve the Constitution.
I love that. Yes,
to uphold, defend, and
preserve the Constitution. Yes,
are we doing just that?
And that is exactly what she's doing. In fact, she wants Ghanaians to know, say, Emrana Omodene Famuno. Apart from say, Omo Ahwakunya said, even Wachana Kwampo. President Bitman say, hey, I can't come on a report. Munkase Yampamo, not President Pamono, Ombetimi Akasa. But I am Ra, Sir President, no, a committee no Bayasana, Ghana for Monchen Ecosu. Adina Ecosu, me to me, my mena ya dear power, ye bold. In fact, me tear meeting in ADAKABRI, Mani Ayat to me, say, why must this happen in this country? In a government, Oma Basse, Oma Resetting Yema. Look, I never because we're gonna have ADAKABRI. I know. Even from January, you swear, you saw how they were attacking people from their offices.
Me, I'm sorry.
I don't think. What's he saying?
You thought she was going to resign. Well, sure. I'm sorry for that.
Mark Jerry.
Or the farmer Jerry saw the catch them.
ADAKABRI na unkwane di bibia fa so de bia wo do
I'm right here this the moon. I said you thought she was going to resign. Well, sure.
And of course, I'm going to say, in fact, what is happening in this country, as far as the perversion of the law, is very, very serious.
engineer na munko fa ni frehefa after elections ya hwehwe no aye nya no nti
na no onka za wan kasa na ofre mi a
munko ba bia
me hoya me ko UK kakra me okaba nti me hoya agro no afuka na ebe ye de
aye be time ni yedi nkomo mo
mate ADAKABRI
ye be sorry so na ye be ko fi emphasize dama engineer entwebu asiako as robust as always na ode ababe bu achimade no yes so the abramoe ma mi hwe abrabe ma mi lead na me to sa anyo no ma mi hwe beginning cry and I don't
one day you know these are the words of my mother as I'm getting old. Even away I remember, so I'm packing all my tools. I'm going back at home. A young girl like me shouldn't be stuck with an old school fool. He told me he was a banker.
Okay.
No, when bank robber. This man is a gangster. Buko banku boxer. Oh, sorry, I no pa. Badambo. Hey, Edu every year. Shaka nigga jango. Now it beats me. Every night and day, Mama Shy. You used to want me, but I didn't wanna know. Thank you.
Concerned police. Concerned police. Masu sesi anafako. Amfanko concerned police. It is abrevis in Abramoe and DJ Foreigner Everett Nase. Na gusunity need 100.9 FM.
Enyino na nani ahode ebafo empo emabunu bi ebre ewo anim nanso eni yade bia